So let's get right into it. India is home to one of the oldest agricultural sectors in the world. And right now, it's trying something, well, kind of revolutionary. They're taking the same digital payment tech that completely changed life in the cities and using it to rewire farming itself. This is the story of how lines of code are literally being planted to grow a whole new kind of harvest.
Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the old, deep-rooted problems that farmers have been dealing with forever. Then we'll explore the digital blueprint that kind of set the stage for all this change. We'll get into the weeds of this UPI for agriculture, see how it actually works in the real world, and then tackle the huge challenge of connecting every single farmer. And finally, we'll ask the big question: is this the next green revolution?
All right, so to really get why this digital push is such a big deal, we first have to understand the sheer scale and the traditional headaches of Indian farming. Just look at this number, 86%. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't just a random statistic. It paints a picture of a massively fragmented landscape. Millions and millions of small, family-run farms, each working on just a tiny piece of land. And that fragmentation has real consequences. When your farm is that small, it's incredibly tough to use machines, to plan efficiently, or to get your hands on modern tech. It creates this whole chain reaction of problems that holds back both how much you can grow and how much you can earn. Let's talk about what that looks like on the ground. You're often forced to rely on middlemen who take a huge cut of your profits. You need a loan for seeds? You're probably getting it from an informal lender at sky-high interest rates. A huge chunk of what you grow is lost before it even gets to a customer. And getting a normal bank loan or insurance? Historically, that's been a real nightmare. It's this tough cycle that traps so many families. So, to fix these ancient problems, India didn't just start from square one. Instead, it looked at a playbook that had already been wildly successful in another part of the economy, building what's called a digital public infrastructure. And wow, just look at this chart. India's Unified Payments Interface, or UPI, went from just under a billion transactions in 2018 to over 131 times billion just 6 years later. It completely transformed how hundreds of millions of people pay for absolutely everything, from a cup of chai on the street to their monthly bills. By 2025, UPI wasn't just a way to pay, it was pretty much the way to pay, making up over 3/4 of all digital retail payments. This created this incredible, low-cost, open digital backbone for the entire country to build on. So this all leads to one really big question, right? If this model of a unified open network worked so unbelievably well for everyday payments, could you apply the exact same logic to the much, much more complex world of agriculture? And that brings us to the nuts and bolts of the actual plan. It's a system called the AgriStack. Okay, so think of AgriStack like a giant digital filing cabinet for all of Indian farming. It takes all these scattered bits of information, like who owns what land, what's being grown there, what the weather is like, and pulls it all together into one single unified digital platform. Now, at the heart of this are 3 really key databases. First, a unique digital ID for every single farmer. Second, a digital map of all the land records. And third, a real-time log of what crops are being planted where. You see, for the first time, this creates a single trusted source of truth. It's a total game changer for a farmer who's used to dealing with stacks and stacks of paper documents. And here's where the magic really happens. If AgriStack is the database, the Unified Farmer Service Interface, or UFSI, is the engine. It is, for all intents and purposes, the UPI for agriculture. It's the layer that lets banks, insurance companies, and tech startups securely plug into that data, with the farmer's permission, of course, and start building brand new services on top of it. Okay, so that's all the theory, but what does this actually look like for a farmer who's out there standing in their field? How does it help them? A fantastic example is already happening in India's massive dairy industry. The automatic milk collection system digitally records everything, the amount of milk, the quality, and then pays the farmer instantly, right into their bank account. That instant payment is huge. It means they have cash to buy feed for their cows the very next day, instead of waiting weeks for a payment to clear. It's transparent, it's fast, and it's already helping more than 1.7 million farmers. This quote right here, it just nails it. When you combine real verifiable crop data with financial services, you're not just giving farmers money, you're giving them power. They're no longer just showing up and asking for a loan. They're coming with verified data about their land and their crops, which completely changes the conversation with a bank. And all this new data is sparking a boom in what's called agro-fintech.
We're talking about things like buy now, pay later for seeds, so a farmer can plant at the perfect time, or getting a loan approved faster using satellite images to assess risk, or getting paid directly from a buyer, cutting out the middleman entirely. Even AI-driven insurance that pays out after a flood, way faster. This is all about taking the risk out of farming.
But wait a minute. All of this sounds amazing if you have a smartphone and a good internet connection. What about the people who don't? And that brings us to a really critical piece of the puzzle: inclusion.
Seriously, what about them? How can you have a true digital revolution when something like 400 million people are still using basic feature phones? You know, the ones without internet. Well, the answer is this brilliantly simple system called UPI 123 Pay. It was designed for this exact problem, to make UPI work on any phone, no internet needed. It uses tech that everyone already knows how to use, like automated phone calls and even missed calls to authorize payments. It's just a really elegant solution to a massive challenge.
And getting started is designed to be as easy as possible. You just dial a simple code, pick your bank from a list, enter your debit card info to verify it's you, and set up your PIN. And that's it. This isn't just a cool feature. It's absolutely essential to making sure this digital shift doesn't leave anyone behind.
Okay, so let's zoom back out and look at the big picture here. What does the future actually look like if this all works? Well, the numbers are just massive. The agri-fintech market is expected to hit $12 billion pretty soon. But this isn't just about money. This kind of growth signals a real, fundamental change for rural economies. It's about shifting farming from a profession of survival to a modern, data-driven business and creating new opportunities right there in the villages. And that leaves us with this final big question. India is making a huge bet here. It's betting that by building this open digital public road for its oldest, most important industry, it can spark a brand new kind of green revolution, one that's written not just in the soil, but in code.